Hello friends, today is Tuesday, the 4th December 2018. This lecture will be the support lecture for the stanza 22. Let's begin. So in this lecture, we will be seeing the. Let me move this to the side. The Chūla-Suññtta-Sutta. Chūla means small, and Suññata means related to the Sunya. Sunya means zero or nothing. Nothingness. Sutta is the sutta, or the parts from the and anecdotes and parts from the Sutta Pitaka of the Pāli Tripitaka. So the Chūla-Suññtta-Sutta. In this sutta, the Buddha clearly explains about the sunyata, or the nothingness, or the zero, or the it's the sunyata or the nothingness. So I call it as the entry into emptiness. The sutta which describes the entry into emptiness and then eventually to Nibbana. So this lecture will be an answer to the Mahayana people, the Mahayanists who think that they know about Sunyata, but what the Buddha has talked about Sunyata is very clear here in this sutta. This is in the Majjhima Nikaya in Pāli, and Madhyama Nikaya in Sanskrit. In Pāli it's Majjhima Nikaya 121. I think it's 121. And I am not going to go into the Pāli words of it, but we will see the essence of this. So in this sutta, Venerable Ananda asks the Buddha, comes and asks the Buddha about something which he had heard, and the Buddha explains it very clearly. And what is explained here is Sunyata. Sunyata is about the nothingness, the key concept which the Mahayana is based upon. But Sunyata is just one of the things that is there in the Theravada school of Buddhism. I take the opportunity here to welcome everyone to the Theravada school of Buddhism, which is direct from the Buddha, which adopts the language of Pāli language, in which the Buddha taught his teachings. And it is told that the Buddha was the mother tongue of the Buddha was Sutta Magadhi, but I do understand by rigorous study of the Pāli language and the Pāli stanzas in the Abhdhamma, and some in the Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka also, that the Sutta Magadhi that the Buddha was speaking, which was Buddha's mother tongue, was not was not probably the one that he used for preaching. Probably it is, certainly in my view, it is Pāli, because the Pāli language is the language of the gods and language of the number one, the first language of the heavens. And there are people who in the Buddhist schools who believe that it is the Sutta Magadā, but I through my experiences in the North India, where I used to study, I have come across people who speak the derived language from the Sutta Magadā, which is called as Magahi, or which these people belong to the Bihar, the state of eastern state of Bihar, which the capital of this state is Patna, which was Pataliputra by then during the Buddha's time. So I do like to comment or give an anecdote here, give a remark here that the language which is called as Magahi in the present Indian state of Bihar, which is spoken by very less people, is not the language that they claim as the Sutta Magadā. Sutta Magadā is very close to Pāli, or perhaps the Pāli language itself, and so I take this opportunity to comment here and help those people who are the proponents of the Sutta Magadā. In fact, I do understand that the meaning of the Pāli words has been changed in the course of 2,600 years. And after Buddha's death, 2,500 or 2,600 years, and hence the essence of the suttas, or the key terminologies of the Buddha's teachings have changed. But one can through thorough scrutiny and analysis and perhaps through experience can, of course, arrive at the correct meaning, the pure meaning of the Pāli terminologies, and thereby bring in the real essence of the teachings of the Buddha once again. So I would suggest, and I'm very clear that the Sutta Magadā, which is claimed as the language of the Buddha, and hence told that the proponents of such theory that Buddha taught in Sutta Magadā is doesn't have I do believe doesn't have very strong foundations. Hence, the foundation of the Pāli language with the wrong or wrongly interpreted meanings in other languages, like especially in English, and the influence of the Sanskrit language. The meaning of the Sanskrit language has altered the teachings of the Buddha, but but I do believe that many have now come across the correct meaning, have derived at the correct meaning. Many great monks, many Sayadaws from Myanmar, and many great monks from Sri Lanka have certainly come to the have arrived at the correct meanings. I do believe it, and hence let us start this sutta. This is the sutta which is key to enlightenment, and this sutta also gives us the answer whether the Buddha talked about the kasina or the entires, which we saw here. Let us see. Just give me a minute. The kasinas, as we can see here, the kasinas or 10 in number: earth kasina, water kasina, fire kasina, air kasina, space kasina, light kasina, and the 4 colors: the red kasina, blue kasina, yellow kasina, and white kasina. And in this sutta, the Buddha takes the earth kasina, the Patavi kasina. So this is the answer to the many proponents who say that the kasina doesn't belong to Buddhism, doesn't belong to. So let us and who say that the Buddha never talked about kasina, but it's not so. Let us see this sutta now. So in this sutta, the Buddha first talks about the things that are there on the earth. A monk, when he starts to meditate, here the meditation which is adopted here is the Patavi kasina, or the meditation with open eyes. So the monk who contemplates first sees the things on the earth, like the houses, the woman, the man, the animals, the trees, the things that are grown in the fields, like the grains, like rice, paddy, etc., homes, the parks, etc., in the village or the earth. So first he sees that, and then he contemplates, and then his mind settles down, and he is happy with by seeing such things. So we have to remember that we will just go into it, to the core of it, one by one. So the Buddha says first he contemplates this way, and then finds some satisfaction, and then in the next level, the monk, he removes from the this way what happens is, in the monk's mind, he clearly understands what is there and what is not there. For example, here what is there is the man, woman, the houses, the trees, the plants, the paddy fields, etc., and the ground on which it is growing. These are the things that is present, that he contemplates on, and then he finds satisfaction. And in the second stage, that's what and he finds the singleness based on the perception of all these things, which are variety in number: the man, woman, the trees, the cultivated crops, the dogs, the animals, etc. And then in the second level, what the monk does is he just removes the perception of or the disturbance which is created, which comes by the animate things like man, woman, the animals, etc., and only contemplates on the wilderness. The wilderness is contains the cultivated fields, the the trees, and the parks, and the earth beneath it. So this way, he or she who is a meditator attends to the singleness based on the perception of wilderness. So and then he or she finds satisfaction. And so here the entry into what we are doing here in this sutta, what the Buddha says is we study about the entry into emptiness. So here the entry into emptiness is in accordance with reality or actuality, and is undistorted in meaning and pure. So this statement can also be told here. So when the monk contemplates this way on these multitude of things, he still finds satisfaction, and his entry into emptiness is in accordance with actuality and is undistorted in meaning and pure, and what is there and what is not there is very clear. So the man, woman, and animals, animate things are just not perceived upon, and only the wilderness is taken upon as the object of meditation here. And then again the monk comes into satisfaction and calmness, and is happy on such meditation. And then in the next stage, he or she, what he does is he or she doesn't perceive the disturbance that is created from the wilderness. Wilderness is here by the plants, the cultivated crops, etc. And so what happens is he or she perceives only the earth that is there and not the wilderness. So here the earth kasina is the one that the Buddha says, where the monk is contemplating on. So here the meditator, he or she, attends to the singleness based on the perception of the earth, or the patavi, or the patavi kasina here, the patavi kasina. So here the entry into emptiness of his mind, in his mind, his or her, the entry into emptiness is in accordance with the actuality, and is undistorted in meaning and pure, because what is there and what is not there is clearly defined. So here what is not there is the wilderness is left out, is not there. His awareness related to the disturbance of the wilderness is left out, and his awareness with regard to the animate things like man, woman, and the living things like the dogs, cats, and the cows, etc., is just left out. Only the perception of the earth kasina is entertained here, and this monk finds satisfaction and is settled with this type of meditation. And here he goes from the first Rupa Jhana. Rupa Jhana is the fine material sphere jhana. From the first, with the earth kasina, it is possible for anybody to go from the first Rupa Jhana up to the fifth Rupa Jhana. We will see about it in the chapter on meditation. So he or she, the meditator, goes from the first Rupa Jhana to the second Rupa Jhana, and then to the third Rupa Jhana, and then to the fourth Rupa Jhana, and then to the fifth Rupa Jhana. And Rupa Jhana is the fine material sphere jhana, or otherwise it's called as the jhana, up to the fifth jhana. And he dwells in this way, and he is very clear about what is empty of. What is empty of in his mind? What is empty of here it is empty of the wilderness. It is also empty of the people that are there and the animals, animate things that are there. But it is what is non-empty here. What is it containing is the earth. Or the earth kasina. So the entirety of earth, even though the monk, when he or she meditates, concentrates on a particular space of earth, but since it's a kasina, the entirety of the earth is taken here. And it should also be understood that the cracks, the ravines, the fountains, the water flowing on the earth is also covered as the wilderness here, which is left out here, and only the perfect earth is contemplated here. And then the monk goes from the first Rupa Jhana up to the fifth Rupa Jhana here, and his entry into the emptiness is very clear, is undistorted, and is in accordance with the reality, and is undistorted in meaning and hence pure. And in the next one, what happens is the monk, this way the monk is contemplating, and then he just releases or removes the disturbance of the earth itself, or the disturbance of the earth kasina itself. Sorry, here the earth kasina itself, and then starts the arupachara, and then goes into the immaterial sphere consciousness, or the meditation of the immaterial sphere, because the material of the earth is just removed, and hence in that place there is the space. So he or she attends to the singleness based on the perception of dimension of infinitude of space. So since the earth is removed here, then there stays the dimension of infinitude of space, into which the meditation comes in. And what is here is shunya, means what is zero here, or what is nothing, what is left out, or what is nothing here is the earth here. The earth is left out. Also it is devoid of the wilderness. It is also devoid of the people on the earth. So, but what is present here is the infinitude of space, and then the monk finds satisfaction and happiness, and is abiding in the infinitude of space here. So here the entry into emptiness is in accordance with actuality, is undistorted in meaning and pure, and the monk dwells in the first arupa jhana. Arupa is the immaterial sphere jhana. So the first arupa jhanas, all the arupa jhanas from first arupa jhana up to the fourth arupa jhana, or all the modes of fifth jhana itself, we have seen it before, and has the feeling associated with all the arupa jhanas is the same feeling associated with the fifth jhana, fifth rupa jhana, which is the equanimous feeling. So the monk actually feels very equanimous and very calm as he or she abides in the infinitude of space. His mind clings on to the infinitude of space. And then in the next stage, what happens is what is left out, what is removed here is the infinitude of space. The monk then goes on to contemplate on what is filling the space on all directions, and hence he finds out it is his own consciousness, which is also which goes into infinity, which is called as the infinitude of consciousness. So we can say he or she attends to the singleness based on the, which is singleness is called as the one-pointedness or the singleness based on the perception of dimension of infinitude of consciousness, dimension of infinitude of consciousness. So here he dwells, and this is the second arupa jhana. So what is left out, what is sunya, or what is zero here, what is left out and what is devoid of here is the space. Infinitude of space is left out because the infinitude of consciousness is held on to. Infinitude of space is sunya here, is left out, and then what is left out is the earth kasina, or the perfect earth without any blemishes. And then what is left out here is the wilderness, and then what's left out is the people and the animals around here. So, and the monk dwells in the second arupa jhana. And then in the next stage, the monk removes from his attention, from his perception, the infinitude of consciousness, and then goes deeper into the nothingness, the dimension of nothingness. It's called as the dimension of nothingness. The nothingness also has a sort of dimension which actually cannot be measured. That's why it's called as the dimension of nothingness. And the monk abides in the, attends to the singleness, abides to the singleness based on the perception of dimension of nothingness. So thereby the monk dwells in the third arupa jhana. So where which is called as the dimension of nothingness, the monk dwells in the dimension of nothingness. What is there here is the dimension of nothingness. What is there is nothingness, and it should be noted here that what is nothingness is actually something that is there, which is called as nothingness. Nothingness. There is actually now the question comes, what is called as now the question comes, what is called as nothing? In fact, there's nothing called nothing. There is something called nothing, actually. This is what the Buddha says. In fact, in the universe, in the conceptual world, there is nothing called nothing. There is something called nothingness. So what is there is nothingness, or what is there is nothing. So this is what is there is Sunya, or the nothingness. So this is something very very important that the Buddha told. This is one of the few instances where the Buddha talked about nothingness, and hence in the Theravada school of thought, nothingness is just one of the jhanas, one of the arupa jhanas. Actually, it is the third arupa jhana, third immaterial sphere jhana, through which a being goes. Being cultivates such jhanas before entering into the nibbana, which is one of the steps. We will see about the nibbana, how we enter to the nibbana through this way. Let us see. And it should be noted that the emptiness that is talked about by the Mahayana is total emptiness. As saying that all the phenomena is devoid of everything, and which is a wrong concept. Here the Buddha clearly says that what is present and what is not present is the way one has to look at things. So here what is present is the dimension of nothingness, and what is not present is the infinitude of consciousness is not present, and then what is not present is the infinitude of space. And here what is not present is the earth kasina, the blemishless earth kasina, the earth. And then what is not present is the wilderness that's not present, and then the people around the wilderness and the animals around the wilderness is not present here. And then this way the monk abides in the third arupa jhana. So here the entry into emptiness is in accordance with actuality, is undistorted in meaning and pure. So what we have to remember here is the meaning, which shouldn't be distorted, which should be very clear about what is present and what is not present, what is perceived by the mind and what is not perceived by the mind, and hence the purity of the entry into emptiness is assured this way. So the monk abides in the third arupa jhana, which is the perception, which is the singleness based on the perception of the dimension of nothingness. And then in the next step, what happens is the monk removes the disturbance of the perception of emptiness itself. So it can also be called as the disturbance caused by the perception of emptiness is removed, and also the disturbance caused by the perception of the infinitude of consciousness is removed. And also the disturbance caused by the emptiness of the infinitude of perception of the infinitude of space is removed, and the disturbance caused by the perception of the earth or the blemishless earth kasina is removed. The disturbance caused by the wilderness is removed. The disturbance caused by the people and the animals that are there in the wilderness is removed. So and hence the monk dwells in such a mind, or he or she attends to the singleness and abides in the singleness based on the perception of dimension of neither perception nor non-perception, because at this stage It is actually called as the fourth arupa jhana, or the last arupa jhana, where the meditator abides in the perception of the dimension of neither perception nor non-perception, because the mind is understands that it is seeing something, but or we can say that it is seeing itself. It is seeing itself. It is seeing that it is perceiving. It is trying to perceive. So here again, the entry into emptiness is in accordance with actuality or reality, and is undistorted in meaning, and hence pure. So thereby the monk abides in the fourth arupa jhana here. And then in the next step, let me move this here. In the next step, what happens is after the as soon as he or she understands that the mind is actually trying to perceive something which is its own mind, he or she comes to understand, tries to abide in the themeless or conceptless or idealess or idealess mindfulness on awareness. So I use the word mindfulness because some people, some monks say it is concentration. I really doubt it is concentration, because it's mindfulness. You're very mindful on what is there in the mind, what the mind clings to. So here it is the themeless or the conceptless, which is called as the panyati, what I call this level as the panyati vimutti bhavana. Vimutti bhavana means the panyati is the concept or the idea. Panyati here means the concept or the idea. Vimutti is the freeing yourself from the concepts. And the bhavana is the meditation, such type of meditation where the mind is free from the concept, or the conceptless meditation or conceptless awareness is seen here, which is actually also the fourth arupa jhana. It is also the fourth arupa jhana, but it is the deeper one of the fourth arupa jhana. So here again, so what happens is he or she attends to the singleness, attends and abides in the singleness based on the themeless or the conceptless mindfulness of awareness, or the panyati vimutti bhavana. And then in the next stage, what happens is the meditator now finds out that there is no concept to cling on to. So after some time, the meditator, and again here the meditator comes down to see that there is the six sensory spheres, or the sense bases, 6 sense bases of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching on the body, and then the mind door, or the heart base, or the heart sphere, or the mind sphere, which is clinging to the body, our body, as with life as its condition. When the life goes away, all these bases are just dissolved. So these are the 6 aggregates that come into being on our body, which are called as the 6 sensory spheres. This is what the meditator perceives. Perceives here. When this perception occurs, here the entry into emptiness is in accordance with actuality, is undistorted in meaning, pure, and is superior and unsurpassed. It is ultimate, it is the superior one, it is the number one and unsurpassed, just below, it is just below the Nibbana, the level of Nibbana. So hence it's called as the, Buddha calls it as the superior one and unsurpassed by many. So above this is the Nibbana. Once the meditator finds this six sensory bases or the spheres very clearly, which is clinging to the body, and then the meditator understands that these are again the mental fabrications. The mind actually fabricates all these things, and these six are also bound to go away or finish up, or bound to anicca. Anicca is bound to fall to nothingness, or it has rised and it will come down, and hence it will be extinct when he or she, the meditator, understands that these six sensory bases or bound to extinction, bound to decay. Yeah, that's called as decay. So now comes the vimutti. Vimutti is called as the freedom. The meditator wants to be free from these six mental fabrications, or the six types of perceptions. These are the basis for the salayatana, or the mind, the roads of the mind, six mind ways, or the ways of the eye, the seeing, ways of hearing, ways of smelling, ways or way or the way of tasting. The way indicates the type of road or the way in which the mind goes, holding on to things that are perceivable, that are hearable, that are smellable, that are tasteable, that are touchable, and that are thinkable, that are only thinkable through the mind, through the heart door, so heart base. So this way, once the meditator comes to this pure and unsurpassed superior level of awareness, there he understands the anicca, anatta, dukkha, or the anicca is the unsureness. There is no surety. Anicca, everything is bound to decay. There is an anicca. Anatta is, there is nobody who can keep on extending the happiness that is derived from all these six sense bases, and hence all these things or mind, or the fabrications of the mind itself, and hence it is okay to leave it alone, and hence the dukkha, which is produced by the fabrication, these six types of the rudimentary mental fabrications of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, or the ideation faculty or thinking faculty, is all bound to decay, and hence left out, and the mind and the meditator wants to free oneself from all these decaying things, and then there comes the entry into the Nibbana, through any of the three doors. The door of anicca. Anicca is the unsureness of everything. Anatta is the inability to control things, or body or mind or whatever it be, to keep on controlling these things. And the dukkha is the unsatisfaction that is occurring in the mind, which is also the mental fabrication of these six sensory spheres, which is the unsatisfaction when one is not able to prolong the happiness that is derived from all or any of these six sensory spheres, and hence in the end enters into Nibbana. So here I would like to, just give me a minute. So here I would also like to, let me move it up. So here, or else down is okay, better. So I would like to compare the way of or the way to Nibbana as described by the Buddha in this sutta. The sutta is called as the Chūla-Suññtta-Sutta, or the discourse of the small discourse of the discourse which is related to Suññata, or the nothingness, or I call it as the entry into nothingness, thereby to Nibbana, which is explained by the Buddha to Venerable Ananda, one of his chief disciples. So there are proponents of the technique to achieve Nibbana who say that there is no need to there is no need for people to go into the four arupa jhanas, or the jhanas which is related to the infinity of consciousness, jhana related to the dimension of nothingness, jhana related to the dimension of perception or non-perception. So I would like to experiment myself and also ask the experience of such people who are the proponents of entering into the Sotapanna stage, or any other stage for that matter, or the stream entry, or entering into Nibbana directly without going into such four stages, 4 levels. But this sutta is very clear about how the monk goes into the Nibbana stage by stage, by the way of elimination or freeing up from the disturbance of the higher things, and thereby going deeper into the mind itself, and then later finding out the basis, 6 sensory bases, or the 6 sensory spheres in the end, and then realizing the anicca, anatta, dukkha, or the unsatisfactoriness that is there in the and the impermanentness that is there in the 6 sensory bases, and then thereby understanding understanding that the 6 sensory bases are not him or her, or the meditator is not the 6 sensory bases there, or the 6 sensory spheres there, which are just the mental fabrications, and hence and then thereby the mind, the meditator is freed from this from this. And then the wisdom. Yeah, so here I have to talk about what is born here as soon as the six sensory bases are found out, and then when the mind is trying to free itself from the bondage of such six links to the mental fabrications of the six sensory bases, there comes the panya, or the wisdom. The wisdom is born, and such wisdom is unsurpassed, and it is the highest contemplation, or the highest understanding of the Buddha's three characteristics of life: the anicca, anatta, and dukkha, and thereby entering into nibbana. So this is the way I think is the correct one. And for the proponents who say that without going through the arupa jhanas, the fear what they have is that if a meditator, after attaining any of the arupa jhanas, for example, if a meditator, for example, has cultivated the infinitude of jhana related to the infinitude of space, then dies without moving on further to nibbana, then will be born in such worlds where of the infinitude of space, and there he or she will be spending a lot of time, eons of time, which we will also see in the further lectures, how much time. Of course it is true, but the point here is one should be able to move on up to the six sensory bases, and I also advise the meditators to please follow the Buddha's advice here, and not try to jump from the fifth fine material sphere jhana, fifth jhana, or the, according to the Sutta Pitaka or the Suttanta, it is the fourth fine material sphere jhana, and then try to switch to it is also possible, I think, but I have the reason for doubt, because in this sutta the Buddha clearly describes this, and we will also see some other sutta which describes a short way to reach the the so-called just give me a minute here, to reach the supramundane chittas, or the supramundane consciousnesses, in some later videos. And I think this, what I have explained here in the so here in this sutta is very clear as it can be. And if there are any suggestions and controversies, I would invite it. I would like to know it, and if possible to know it and to improve what I can. And yeah, and hence we come to the end. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Let all beings, without any distinction, get equally the share of whatever the good karma that I have committed from the beginning of my existence till the very end of my existence. I beg all the beings to please forgive me for all the misdeeds that I might have done to them, and free me from the karmic debts that are there with them. And I beg all the Buddhas, the Pachika Buddhas and Arahants to please forgive me for all the wrongs that I might have done to them. And I beg all the Buddhas, Pachika Buddhas and Arahants to please bless me to attain Nibbana as soon as possible. Thank you.